America to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Arlene, could you do a roll call, please?
Certainly. John Aldred.
Here.
Francis Bach.
Here.
Brian Burns.
Here.
Del Cullen.
Here.
Richard Drew.
Here.
James Grimes. Susan McGraw-Keeper.
Present.
Will Taylor.
Here.
And Susan Volker.
Here.
Okay, we'll start with public comment. Lisa Sheff.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I knew he was coming.
So I was a teacher at Spring School for the last 18 years. I retired last June. And I had 4 students that are in 6th grade this year, going into 7th grade, that were, I sort of threw out who's interested in doing a project over the course of last summer. And it was when we, a few times with my regular coursework with some of the younger grades, in 2 different fall periods, we saw schools of Menhaden and Pussy's Pond, which this is actually So they were full-size Menhaden, which I was like, whoa, what are they doing in, in the small part of the estuary? It just wasn't expected. And again, we saw them probably a total of 3 or 4 times each fall. And so we got talking with the kids, why do you think they're there? And they came up with 2 theories. Well, either there's food there or something's chasing them in there, which I thought was an idea I hadn't thought about. And so we were going to do, I had done some work with research teams that studied the feeding grounds of the bowhead whales up in the Arctic, and what started their project was seeing a lot of bowhead whales in a particular area off the coast of Point Barrow. And then they saw krill washed up on the beach one day when they were doing other research, so it sort of led them to what ended up being a 10-year study. And so we got talking about that and comparing it, and the kids were interested in trying to figure out why they were there. And we were initially going to do plankton tows, but the water quality is a problem in Pussy's Pond, and with the Surfrider Foundation was great, and they did some extra testing for us, but where this was going to be a lot of independent work on the students' part, and they're still younger, I didn't feel comfortable with their hands in the water without me present all the time. So then we, we're trying to think, oh man, we're not going to be able to do it. And we actually switched to drones, and we just had fun with drones over the summer, and I taught them how to fly it because we'd done that at school too. So then the fall, one of the Salome Galindo saw me and said, "What do we got to do something still." And I was like, all right. So we brainstormed, and to make a very long story short, the project went through many different stages, and we came up with using a wildlife camera idea that which I've never used before, and so we bought 2 on Amazon, and I handed them to the kids, and they figured out how to use them in a very short amount of time. This is Good Boys Christian Heaven, figuring out how to make the camera work. But they're pretty cool. That we didn't know we really sort of tried to look, and we knew we couldn't find something underwater that would last long enough, and so it ends up showing the air temperature, the moon phase, the time of day, and what was really nice was it puts all the photos together in a movie. So, because at first we're like, because it's in 2 weeks, the SD card will hold 9,000 photos. Wow. So that was the next thing we're thinking, how long is it going to take us to look through 9,000 photos? Turns out it's not bad. You can speed it up so you can look at quite a few, and it sections them in these videos one day at a time, which was awesome. So we did so I contacted, several people here, and went back and forth a little bit because at first we weren't sure how we were going to do this, and then we realized we could just tie the camera on to the underside of the bridge at Pussy's Pond, and that was when it was determined there was no, you guys didn't have a direct need to approve of something because it wasn't going to be in the pond. But I agree, it's great for the kids to know you exist, and for them to come and present to you was definitely something that, we hope to be able to do. But it's just been a choppy sort of start, stop, figuring it out project. But one of the photos, they didn't get out of Menhaden yet, but they did in one of the pictures. Get the snapping turtle in the pond, and which was really cool. It actually came up when I was helping install the camera. Mrs. Snap! And I turned around, and the snapping turtle came up, and I'm much more comfortable underwater with sharks. I'm fine. Yeah. But snapping turtle and then the water rat that followed it was like, okay, great. But it's the kids are having fun with it. So they're going into 7th grade, which is a really busy year, and they're very active kids. And I'm like, you guys tell me, what do you want to do? Because we actually ended up doing about 4 weeks with the camera tied up. And this is the camera. And then one of them said, we should get a lock. So we got a lock. So we strapped it on with a little tag on it because we talked with Kim Shine, sort of said with permission. And you could actually drive down the street and sort of see it when you were going by the general store, to see it peeking out. So that was sort of good to keep an eye on it. So the kids said they want to keep going in the fall, which is when we saw the Menhaden. Unfortunately, those original clips and what they're trying to figure out is if it is the food that's there, plankton, we talked about, well, how did the plankton get there? And so they said, well, that's the wind. They know they travel with the ocean currents. So they're pretty, on the ball with all this stuff, which is really neat. If we see the Menhaden again, and unfortunately the videos we have been passed and changed between school systems, my systems, that they no longer, you can't find the original date and time that they were taken, because that was one of the things they thought to do. And I'm like, that's great, because then we can look up historic weather. But it's just too corrupted down the line to figure that out with those film. But if they see the Menhaden, then they can look at the historic weather data and compare it to see, is there certain wind directions when the Menhaden show up in the Pussy's Pond, which then you could infer that with a certain wind direction, and it's, the wind coming right down the chute, so to speak, with Accabonac into Pussy's Pond is their hypothesis of what would drive the krill and other, copepods that the Menhaden feed on into the pond. So we may never see them again. We were laughing, maybe it was a fluke, even, they were there.
I've seen them in Reed Pond, which is really a freshwater pond. But you get the right moon, the right tide, and a real heavy rain where like little reed swells up. And I've seen bunkers swimming in the road alongside the pond over there. So it's not that unusual.
Just when we showed it to people that have lived around the Pussy's Pond for a long, they've like, I've never seen that. So I think just happened to be a course I was running where I was bringing kids over every period. So, we were there a lot, which is why I think we happened to see it. But the cameras are great. They figured it out. We're like, okay, the card can hold 9,000 photos. How long can we leave it out and how often can you take a picture? And, they sat down and figured it out. So it's a nice project. There's a lot of math and they're learning. It's also that one thing as a teacher, so often your science is limited to the 50-minute period, and they think that's what scientists do. So it's good for them to realize that it's long-term, and sometimes you have a hypothesis, sometimes you have a hope. If they don't show up, then they've learned something there too. So that's what we're doing. And we ended up getting a hobo thing, and this would go in the water. It's one of these little probes, and it's awesome technology. It goes right to your phone and it charts it all for you, what the temperature is. So that's something that we would end up putting, hanging in the pond. But we are gonna. They felt like, and I agree that the problem.
Use the mic.
Oh, sorry. That sorry. That the bridge isn't really the best place to capture the Menhaden because they have to come near the bridge to get it. So the culvert's the best spot. So our next step is sometime this week I'll send an email to the highway department because I figured, that's also a learning experience for them. I'm like, first we had to check with the school that we could do this, and then it was check with the town and with you, and I said, it's a culvert, it's part of the road, we can't just, as much as I would like to, just, nail something up there. So the only trick is if they can't figure out a way for us to do that, we might need to put something in to hold it over there for the camera. So that's, again, a work in progress. And I'm away the first few weeks of September, so we figured we'd do that then. And then Julie Bistrian said her brother is a science teacher, and that he and her dad fish Accabonac a lot. So I had mentioned to John, we just happened to see each other after he sent me the email a couple days ago, that another piece would be to try to get some local fishermen that, I grew up in the Cape, and you see menhaden, they're menhaden with the way the tone of the water changes. And so if some fishermen could just report, menhaden Tuesday, 3 o'clock, or something like that, then that would give us some other data. If they don't end up showing up in the pond, where they could still look at the meteorological data, which would be, impacting the surface ocean currents in that little area. So, yeah, that's the project.
I remember that you and I spoke about this some time ago.
It was.
It's a wonderful project, and I'm very excited for the students. How many in total do you have?
Just 4. It was funny. I made some pretty strict guidelines. I said, if anyone's interested in doing some science project this summer, you've got to write me send me an email with a paragraph telling me why you're interested. And I didn't even tell them what it was. And, a lot of kids, and I said, and then if you send me the email, you can come to a meeting on Friday. So 4 kids did it and followed through, which is a lot at the end of the school year. Mm-hmm. You all have kids or nieces and nephews, they're ready to, get out. So these 4 kids said, yeah, we want to do something. And they wrote the email, and then they remembered to come to the meeting. I didn't chase anybody down.
Great.
And they keep, going after the ball. So I have a lot of fun too.
Well, when they have a passion, they follow through.
Yeah.
This is very interesting, and I want to thank you personally for introducing us to the students, especially since you've been retired now.
Yeah,
You're coming back in.
I still love science. Now, Frank's got me directing the summer camp over at SOFO for a couple of weeks too, so that's been fun, So yeah, I still love the kids and science, but this is making my burn ratio get much better with my meals for my family at home. So it's all good. But yeah.
I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
Are you tied to September to start because of the school year? You can't push this back to August?
We could, if you think that's...
I've seen menhaden and interior ponds in the middle of the summer. So.
All right, yeah, I think, we can. I'm gone from early September until later, and then, but the kids are going to be off and on around during the summer, so I'm sure they'd be like, yeah. So it's,
Just a thought.
Yeah.
I use these cameras a lot in my business. If you ever need, if the kids ever want tips or something on if they plan to set it up a different way, there's a few things that I can help with, because like you say, they hold a lot of pictures, but they take pictures by movement.
No,
So
this one doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't?
You can set it, it's by movement, by heat, or by, it's a time lapse.
Okay. Oh, so
yeah.
they're using time lapse?
They're using time lapse.
Oh, wow, so
and they-
that was a lucky shot then.
Yeah, but they set it for in 2 weeks, and I think they set it for every minute and 45 seconds.
Oh, neat.
So you have at first they were going to do people going down and try to encourage people to go look, and then we're like, man, that's not, we're not going to get that much data, and most people are going to be going at lunch at the same, times to report data, and so then we came up with the camera idea. So yeah, it's nice, and if they did it, they could set it and go and change the SD card in a shorter time and get even more pictures, especially now that we know it's easy. You can put these videos on fast forward, and you can watch 24 hours worth of pictures in a minute, and then slow it down when you want to grab out a individual photo of it. But thank you. I think they have to, and they'll have to figure it out. Another teacher, Eric Schwab, everybody at school is still great, and he's a photographer quite a bit, and he said he doesn't know if you can change the ISO level, because he said that'll allow it, you'd get some better shots through the water. I think he said if you increase it. So that's something that we need to play with. But otherwise, the shots are pretty good.
You can also get a polarization lens, you can also get a polarized lens.
Put it on that
Sure,
type of camera?
sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've taped actual,
Oh, just like a
I've
red or
taped
green?
55 millimeter ones right onto the camera.
Really? Just a polarized, like a
Yeah,
sunglass.
like a
Laura.
polarized lens.
Oh, that's great.
Apologize, sorry about that.
Yeah, and so this was sort of last minute, so it was tough to grab the kids for this, but,
Yeah, sometimes they get, people that use them on cameras, they get scratched and then they toss them away, but they're good to hang on
That's-
to
that's
because you
great
only
to
need
know.
a
Yeah,
small
we'll-
portion of it
and
to,
that's a whole nother thing they can play around with too, which is
Sure.
great. Yeah, they're, any other questions?
Is this photo zoomed in, or is that
No, that's it.
extent of it?
It's a big turtle. Yeah.
Okay, so we look forward to the kids' report.
Yeah, it's going to be a work in progress, so I won't forget you. It's,
Will they actually come to,
Oh, yeah, they would come, yeah, that would be great. And they're great. They're
I think
just,
what we could do too is, in conclusion of their project, we can give them each a letter from us that they can hold on to, saying just how much we appreciate what they did. I think that'll mean a lot to them.
Yeah, it would mean a lot
Yeah.
to them.
citizen scientists?
Yeah, well, that's what we sort of called it, a citizen science project, that,
Excellent.
yeah, so that's great, yeah, thank you. No, I think they'll actually enjoy coming. They'll be nervous, but they'll be fine. All right?
okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Jim Walker?
Chris, Carolyn, look at that thing for the next 10 minutes.
You don't like the turtle?
Yeah, see the lighthouse of the seal.
What do you think, Francis, right here?
Is this hers?
That'll work for us, I don't know.
Lisa,
Anyway.
did you leave your USB? Oh,
It's yours, Ron.
No, this one's.
All right, we'll try to make this a science project, too. This is a replacement of an old access walkway that the trustees had permitted many years ago. The access walkway is composed of a 4x4 landing at the top of the bluff, 4x6 stairs down, and then it has two 4x6 ramps that are attached together with steel connections, and a 4x4 floating platform at the end. It's 2 feet shorter than the original trustees permit allowed. And part of this project is I had to go to the village, and when I went to the village, we resolved a couple of issues, the first being common reed management at the pond shoreline. And the second was planting a 55-foot wide easement to native vegetation. And we went through that process. The village had their public hearing, and they're going to approve it at their July meeting. That would be the more interesting part of the project. If you have any questions regarding the access walkway, it's all there. That's untreated lumber. The ramp comes down. It goes from high water to low water. The stairs ended at high water for Georgica Cove, and then the ramp gets you out to lower water levels. The float more or less reaches low water. And the New York State DEC asked us, in this particular instance, to put 4x4 legs on it with chocks so that the thing is held up during any water level in the pond. So that's what you have in front of us, in front of you. We have a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation permit. We have a New York State Department of State general concurrence. We do not have the Army Corps yet, but they're out for public hearing. So probably by the time the village approves this common reed management project, the Army Corps permit will be in. The village has approved the access walkway.
Okay, Jim, can you give us some history on this? Because since we don't approve docks on the pond unless there's some pre-existing history, can you describe the history on this project that makes it different?
The history of the project relates back to trustees' review and approval of a set of plans that were drawn up by end consultants. And they are identical to the property to the north, which is 17 Cove Hollow Farm. And what it was a long walkway down the bluff on both properties, and it had a platform that was supposed to go up and down the walkway, depending on the levels in the pond. And I don't know if it was ever functional or worked or didn't work, but that was the plan set that was approved by the trustees. That was the plan set that was approved by New York State DEC and the other regulatory agencies.
What year was that?
I think the last set of permits that I have is 1990. I don't know how far back the first set was, but I can submit that stuff in writing. All the legal work was done by the attorney for the project.
Jim, where does the stairs, or the soon-to-be stairs, at what point do they come off the property?
There's a bluff,
Yeah.
and then there's a slope. The 4x4 landing's on top of the bluff. The 4x6 stairs go down the bank, and they stop at high water. In other words, at high levels of water in Georgia Code, which is about 6 feet, stairs end. The old permit from the trustees, the stairs went way down into the water. And they were there, for what it's worth, but to tell you the truth, I don't know that the design was ever very functional. The idea here is we have something that's 2 feet shorter, but at high water, the stairs end, and you have a little float at the very end, 4x4, which you can launch a kayak from.
Okay, Jim, there was a stair on this property.
Yeah.
There are no stairs there now.
There are no stairs there now. The village made them remove the stairs
For what purpose?
because there wasn't a building permit for it. When the property was sold, they had to get an updated certificate of occupancy. So the village building inspector made them take the aluminum stairs out.
Okay. I can't see that far, but the lower portion of this that projects over George Pond, what's the cover material on that? That's not, what is it, grading?
We're required to build a frame box and put through-flow decking on top. Through-flow decking is not slippery. It works well.
Yep.
Tropical hardwood and ipe and all the fancy decking materials are all slippery. And this thing is going to be sloped unless the water is really high. And at high water, it's going to be level. So that eliminates the worry about being slippery. But it's through-flow decking. That's what's proposed.
What is through-flow decking?
Through-flow decking is recycled plastic with 60% light transmissivity. I think that's how you say it. It allows light to the
Or is it
bottom.
like a grate?
It's a grate.
What happened to the neighbor's dock? Is that still in existence?
It's there.
It is there, I don't recall it. Was it visible here in the...
We have,
That one's actually being redone as well. That was in for a, that was into us from land use for a ladies control and a rebate. I had a problem over there, and they got caught cutting it for land use and stuff.
Presentation.
right there. It's, the photo's sticking out there, and it used to be the common reed was way out in the water. And I had no part of getting permits or approvals for common removal there. That to be part of the record, that should be clear. I got the permits for the access walkway from Morris and Susan Mark, and it was very difficult, and the trustees came out to the site, and Diane McNally was there, and Sean McCaffrey was there, and the Army Corps was very adversarial and very nasty to the trustees, and I kind of stood in the middle, and eventually we reached a compromise. That's what it was approved there.
Okay, so Jim, your application is for the walkway and for phragmites removal?
And planting of the 55-foot wide easement. I won't bother the board too much with that.
Well, the 55-foot wide easement is all above the mean high water.
It's the best part of the science, though, Jim. We're taking the common reed out by hand, same as at Robert Niederlander. We're replacing it with wetlands and buffer plantings right up the bank. And then at the top of the bank, we're replacing what part of the 55-foot wide easement that wasn't planted. And at the village request, we keep all the sassafras trees, and there's one quaking aspen tree at the bottom of the bank, which is pretty big, pretty nice. And we're going to plant some ferns underneath the larger trees. And then above it, we have native grasses. We have a modest amount of wildflowers, and we have shrubs to mark the edge right there. So the landscaper doesn't mow into the 55-foot wide easement.
So the easement's going to be a buffer zone?
The easement gets restored to where it should have been. And that was a negotiation with Billy Hayjack in the incorporated village of East Hampton, and that makes the project a sound project where it's an improvement to the shoreline that's there.
All right, hey, Jim, you say you've got shrubs marking the 55-foot easement on the landward?
You got an old plan, Jim.
Okay.
Sorry. We submitted four new ones for Arlene.
Yeah, they didn't come in the mail yet.
All right.
We submitted four.
Is there a notation on that plan saying that you're keeping the existing woody vegetation, the native woody vegetation there?
There's not much vegetation there to keep, Jim.
No, I know it's there. I know when we looked at this, there's some sassafras and some other
The
stuff.
sassafras is all stained. It's all,
Okay, but does it say it on your plan?
yes.
Okay.
It says it right there
Okay.
in big black and white lettering. The requirement to keep sassafras is a little unusual. Sassafras trees are first growth woods, and typically they last for a certain amount of time, they fall down. However, the property owner likes the sassafras, and the quaking aspen is actually pretty big and pretty impressive, and they're going to keep all the trees. If there's a dead limb, they're going to limb it.
Because I think the original plan, though, for here was actually removing those, correct?
I told them the sassafras trees would be a problem, 30, 40 years old, they'll start to fail. But the property owner likes the sassafras trees, so they're going to keep this. And Arlene, if you have a shortage of plans, we'll give you new ones. But those plans have been reviewed by the village. We're expecting approval in July, and the DEC has them, and they've indicated also that they're acceptable.
Jim, do you want to look at it?
No, you know what, I think this is one of those things, the plans have changed, we don't have a written, we don't have anything from the village as yet. I'd like to make a motion that we hold this over to our next meeting, where we've had a chance to look at your plans, confirm everything, and that's not going to hold you up any.
No, it's all fine. We can't do anything there until we get an Army Corps permit, and they just went out to public notice. The board can take their time with the project. If you want, I can leave you those plans tonight, Jim, but...
All right, well, that'd be helpful.
Jim, quick question. I'm just curious, like, what sounds the bell, or what is the mechanism that allows for the Army Corps to be involved versus not?
High water mark. It's actually a spring high water mark.
Okay.
There's a elevation below which you'll, in Army Corps jurisdiction. That's basically any open water, even a back pond
Okay. Thank you.
is navigable water by definition. Most everything is Army Corps jurisdiction.
It seems especially in there.
They're overwhelmed with work. For some reason, the Army Corps has a lot of staff, and they're all up the hill with projects, and they've had a tough time. But we're at public hearing already for this project, and I expect that it's going to be approved, as drawn. I'll fold the plans and hand them up to Arlene.
Jim, thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
This looks really good, Jim.
That's interesting how they get involved.
You want the words, Jim?
What's that?
You want the words, or you want to fold them?
No. I can even wait for the plans that you sent. I'm still working off of the original.
Arlene, what we'll do is take a photo.
Where are they at?
Daffodil.
They have an office like in the Jacob Javits Center or something, yeah.
So the survey had indicated that the front of the house was the back.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye-bye.
All right, move on. Anybody else who wishes to address the board? No? Okay. Move on to new business. Largest clam contest, so. I really have the whole summer to prepare for this, so.
Giving us a lot of lead time, Francis.
Yeah.
When is it? What's the date? Yeah.
That's one of the things we have to decide. With the committee. We want to appoint a committee and start.
Set the date.
I'll be on the committee.
You'll be on the committee?
I'll be.
You'll be on?
I'll join, sure.
We have one more?
I'll do it.
Okay. All right.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
I don't know if you're going to be on the committee.
Three people.
That's funny.
What's that?
That we consider having the largest clam contest at the life-saving station this year.
Yes. I think that's an excellent idea.
Who do we have to get permission from?
The committee first, I guess.
We do it in September, right?
Yes.
Late September, early October.
One of the German spies.
First weekend in September.
Yeah, that would be really neat.
That was a great suggestion made last year.
That was my wife's suggestion.
There's a lot of room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun spot.
And you're drawing a nice attention to the Coast Guard station itself. It pulls it all in. It's
Close to the office.
close to the office. Yes.
And if I could just make a suggestion, if we contact Joe and Steve sooner than later, they may be available, the judge,
Oh, music, right?
for music, because I think they were asked too late, and we didn't have live music last year.
No, we had no music.
Yeah, but we have had it in the past, and that's a lot of fun. So,
We have great clam chowder.
yeah, always got good chowder. Yeah, so,
All right, so when do we begin to meet the committee?
It's up to you.
Not before 4th of July.
Not before, oh, no, I was
After
thinking.
4th of July.
Okay, after 4th of July, all right. We'll come up with something.
Okay. Thank you, that was,
Easy.
yeah.
Sure you don't want to join us, John? I'm sorry, yes?
Come to a couple of meetings.
Well, just because it was Gail's thought to go to the Coast Guard station, I think.
Put Gail on the committee.
Sorry?
I'll
You
put
put
Gail
Gail
on
on the committee? Are you listening, Gail?
All right, we have a request from East Hampton Village to make 2 amendments to the East Hampton Village Code, Chapter 77, Beaches, which will require written permission from the trustees prior to adoption. I think everybody was sent this earlier.
Francis, I reviewed both of these, and I don't really have any problem with either of them. One of them is to include the animals on the beach provision into that $150 minimum ticket, and the other one is just to clarify beach driving on the night of the fireworks display. Both are pretty de minimis as far as I'm concerned, so I didn't see any issue there on my end from a legal perspective.
Anybody have anything to add?
No, Chris, I had a little bit of a dialogue earlier in the season with them about getting together.
Yeah.
Don't any bother with that?
I have, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity right now for us to address that as well. Talking about the trustees' concerns of Chapter 77, specifically with the vaping, smoking on the beach that was enacted under Chapter 211. Had a good conversation with the village attorney a few weeks ago, and we're in the process of setting up a meeting, which we're looking to have the week after 4th of July. 4th of July is coming up next week, so the beach committee, please take a look at your calendars. I'm going to be reaching out to you guys in the next couple of days to set up a meeting with the village, both attorneys, and you guys, the beach committee, to discuss those two issues.
Pauline, were we given one of that?
No folders?
The letter, no, we sent it out to you.
I'd like to look at it.
It was emailed.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I have the email here if you want to.
And to further on that, one of the other things we're going to discuss, in addition to the vaping issue, is one of your major concerns, which is a lot of their print and periodicals, which claim ownership to the beach. So those are going to be the two topics of discussion at this meeting.
And when is the meeting?
We're looking for the beach committee to look at their calendar the week after 4th of July.
I'm pretty open that week.
Okay.
You're talking about the week of the 10th.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that meeting will not involve any village trustees, just attorneys?
No, that will involve members of the village trustees as well. Yep.
So I understand the firework issue, but what exactly is the one on the dogs? I don't see that.
I think they wanted to get all their fine structures the same.
So has
I
any...
looked through their code, and my understanding is they never had a fine for dog, dogs can have to be on a leash between the red poles, I think.
Right.
And I don't think they ever had any fine structure for that. I think that's what it was, because that added,
Yeah, that's how it was
it
explained.
added that section to the fee structure for fines. So I don't think prior to that there was any fine for...
That's my understanding as well.
All right, yeah, I'm all right with it.
Do we want to hold off on this until we have a meeting with them and we can discuss any questions we might have about this?
I think that's a good idea.
It's pretty innocuous.
Yeah, it's pretty innocuous, but you know what? Not for nothing.
Well, the fireworks will be here before you know it.
That's right, if we're not going to meet until after the 4th.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, but they don't have their fireworks until
Fireworks won't be until August.
August.
I don't really see a problem with signing off on this,
I don't either.
All right, so
I make a motion that we accept the changes to their code as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm not.
Okay. Just one opposed, anyone else opposed?
Hey, has the garbage cans been removed from Georgia Beach, Jim?
I'm not sure.
I don't think they have them up there.
Huh?
I was told they don't have them up there. That's the trial piece that they were
Yeah, I
going
don't-
to do.
Then we can check on that for the next.
I've been there, and I don't remember
There was an
seeing...
incident last week. I'm sure everybody heard about it, maybe not. Cans were put out on the beach before anybody was told about it, or got permission to do so. They got overfilled overnight, spilled all over the beach. Pictures were taken, circulated. It was a mess.
At Georgia?
Yeah. No, not at Georgia.
No.
At
Main
Main
Beach.
Beach.
But they're
Huge
We'll
mess
put out all over.
overnight.
Is that the test beach?
No, Georgia is the test beach.
But we can expect more of that. Huh?
When was this?
2 weeks ago, Saturday night. Steve Borner took the pictures.
They put the cans out on the beach the Wednesday before, which was prior to the actual opening of the village beaches.
Disconnect.
Apparently, what I understand, the beach manager put them out earlier than expected, and there wasn't any anybody committed to emptying them.
That's all
They
resolved?
they were overfilled,
And
and
they
they
were
overflowed.
garbage
And people
as
kept
usual.
putting garbage next to them, and it left a trail. How long was the trail?
Was this Memorial
25
Day weekend or 2
25
weeks
feet?
At least.
25 feet down the beach of trash.
Was it Memorial Day
People are pigs,
weekend
we know that.
or
Yeah, I mean,
2
I-
weeks
I
ago?
mean, why do they add to it? I don't get it. But, you
I
know,
don't
you can't-
either.
I don't blame the village because people are pigs. I'm sorry.
The way I look at it, Francis, is if the cans weren't there, then people wouldn't be leaving it there.
Okay, I was walking on Rouse Point over this past weekend. There are no cans on that beach, and there's tons of garbage.
People
So-
are pigs.
Right, exactly. So maybe they centralized it around that.
But where we differ in opinion, Francis, is I think that putting a receptacle there invites people
I understand.
to focus the leaving of their trash there. And when it fills, they feel compelled to continue to leave the trash, meaning that is a beacon saying, leave your stuff here, because we will take care of it for you. You don't have to worry about your mess. And if the cans weren't there, Francis, I only believe that people would feel less inclined. I don't necessarily feel it would end the problem. I just feel people would feel less inclined. There's no trash receptacle here. Maybe this patch of sand is not the place that I should leave my trash.
Well, again, instead of fighting with the village, educate the people. I think you'd get a better result.
Again, I agree. However, I feel that I've been trying to educate the people for years prior, before it got a little more annoying and out of hand, or my perspective has changed. I did try that, and I started to gain a little headway, but what remained, Francis, and I mean headway in a lot of all the other avenues related to this, roadside trash, maybe trash in the parking lot.
You do a great job with
things like
trash,
this.
though. You really
Thank you,
do.
Francis. But I think that where we stand with leaving the trash receptacles, and I know there's a little bit of confusion, because I don't mean remove trash cans from the beaches completely off the parking lot. My contention has always been putting these beacons of garbage collection physically on the beach is making people feel it's okay to leave their trash there regardless of what condition that can is at any given time.
I understand. I understand that
And the
completely.
problem occurs mostly after the hours that they're maintained. And that's where the problem lies.
It seems to me that we have a perfect opportunity this year, assuming there's no cans on Georgia Beach, to
Demonstrate that.
It is in a way,
Get some data.
it is in a way, and absolutely we can gain some data and some perspective. However, and again, my simple opinion, I think it should have been thought a little through more. I could have agreed with this easily. I don't believe Georgia was the proper test subject. I think that was a give-me beach, okay? There's never, I document all the beaches. Georgia's one of them. I find that to be the least impacted beach with garbage.
why would that be?
Why? I don't know. I don't know.
Because I've seen your pictures of Egypt Beach, and I'm from...
Very bad, very
Very
bad.
small parking lot.
Yeah.
Smaller than Georgia probably.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I have a feeling the answer lies with what happens when we all think everything shuts down, when it actually, in reality, it never does. In fact, it picks up, okay? Maybe not a beach crowd, but you get, maybe not a daytime sun beach crowd, but you get a night crowd.
Yeah.
And it really fills up down there. You all know this. And these are the folks that don't know when to say, okay, that garbage can's full, I'm going to take this and throw it in my truck and bring it home. And again, all I'm getting at is I think the cans are simply an invitation to invite this problem consistently over and over, summer after summer, weekend after weekend. And that's my belief. And I only say it because I've watched it and I've kept track of it, and it's from the data that I've compiled. But I understand all of your comments and stuff, but...
What we've done is we've worked out a test beach with the village, and everybody's cooperation, and, you know, we should follow through on
I hope it works well. But I just quickly want to say, I always felt that by removing the cans at Georgica, and you keep calling it a test project, I don't understand that way of thinking, because all the town beaches that don't have garbage cans on them, just like the village prior to putting garbage cans on them, that's normal. Putting cans on the beach was the test. And it seems to me that the test was a failure, in my perspective. So doing a pilot program, I feel that the pilot program was putting the cans on the beach to see if it was going to work any better.
Well, you may be right, but I still think we are where we are.
We are where we are, and
now we have...
and I feel comfortable.
Now we have a comparison.
We do.
And I think we should go forward with this comparison, and if we have the ability to say, hey, look, Georgia never had a problem. Look at Main Beach, it's a disaster. We might be able to move forward another step.
And I'm willing to go with you all on that and do it, and with my fingers crossed, and hoping that it works, not hoping that it fails. I want it to work.
I think we all do.
But I hope we can get to that point before it's too late. It's just discouraging to see all that garbage on the beach. Because what's on the beach is what we see. It's what's not there is what worries me. It's the stuff that got up in the dunes, that got in the water, and got in the mouths of our animals. That's what bothers me more.
Del, do you and your group or your following plan to continue to monitor the situation at Georgia Beach so that we are able to get pictures and data, whatever it is, throughout the summer?
I really haven't been really documenting it too much. I did for so many years. And maybe when I compiled it together and introduced it, maybe that's where I screwed it all up, okay?
Let me ask you.
However, it's still there, and it's still relevant to today. Nothing changes. We're still making the same mistake with our trash. It's just I feel we have an opportunity to try to fix it.
There's an opportunity
Yes,
here to
yes.
take some steps.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
this was brought up last year. You were adamantly against it that night. You felt it was too little, too late. Georgia Beach, as I recall, you said that's no way of measuring anything. There's very little trash down there. And quite frankly, if there is very little trash down there, I think it would do a better job of demonstrating the fact that the cans being in the parking lot would be a positive thing. Okay, my approach to the village wasn't about their ability or inability to pick up garbage, okay, which is where I felt that you had made mistakes, because you came to lecture them on their business practices, and that I focused more on the fact that economically, it's very expensive to pick that garbage up down on the beach, because what it does is it requires somebody to go down there, drive a four-wheel drive pickup, because you're not taking a dual-wheel truck on the beach. Go down there with a pickup truck, hand load that garbage into the back of the pickup truck, cart it over to the village barn, hand load it into a dumpster, okay? Takes a lot of time. The village had been trying to add yet one more pickup period to address which you had pointed out, which is problematic in itself, because now you have staff that you're putting on overtime. You almost have to put another shift on. The garbage isn't quite enough work to really make sense out of a shift. How are you going to purpose these individuals? Basically what you're talking about at 10 o'clock at night, okay? by moving the cans to the parking lot, and this was my pitch, by moving the cans to the parking lot, well, the village may even consider getting out of the garbage pickup business other than the errant litter that finds its way around, and think about subcontracting it to a private contractor. By doing that, you're taking people from overtime payroll, you're taking the benefits, the vesting process, and everything else on it. It could be a win-win for the village. It could increase their service capacity, and it could reduce their individual costs. That's the approach that I took with them. That's the direction I hope that this test program goes, because I didn't go in there with this like myopic view of things, of this garbage on the beach. We got to deal with the garbage on the beach. The garbage on the beach is a symptom of a bigger problem. I tried to approach it on something a little bit more comprehensive. I hope I've gotten some traction there. I'm sure as part of one of our meetings, which we've had many with the village, that we can mull this over and come to something where the trustees and the village truly are working together towards a reasonable conclusion. Because the fact of the matter is, whether you like the garbage cans on the beach, the village has done a pretty damn good job of keeping those beaches clean. Now, in the middle of the night, when people are using the beaches and they're dumping their garbage there, the village has been very aware of that and has been trying to deal with that as best they can. I don't need to browbeat them about it. They're very aware of the problem. They're working on it. They're trying to make something happen here. And I think this season is an opportunity to sort of move a relationship forward here.
I think we've discussed those very words already once before. Good to hear them again. But, I mean, yeah, let it roll. Let's see what happens. I mean,
I think we're all in agreement, we don't want garbage on the beach. So that's where we are. We want to see the garbage
One
removed.
suggestion, that if you get these reports regularly, I guess, of garbage on the beach, strewn incidents, right? Would there be a possibility, and if you go down and look at the incident, swinging over to Georgica? There's a comparison.
I have no problem with that at all. In fact, I get it.
And if that can be documented, if it could be, we had an incident this day, this day, this day, this day, this is what this particular beach looked like, here's the pictures of Georgica. I mean, that's going to be pretty powerful, I think, unless there's garbage all over the beach.
I just get the pictures of the garbage on the beaches. I don't get the pictures of the garbage not on the beaches.
No, but that's
The comparison.
that's the comparison.
Is a strong
I agree. I mean,
statement.
I don't mind going down there and doing it, no.
I mean, I think that would be powerful evidence. So, that's my take.
But I mean, I've also documented Indian Wells and Atlantic Avenue, and where they don't have cans, and the garbage isn't as bad there during the next day. Now, they are in the parking lot.
And they do overflow in the park.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, that's why I said from the beginning, if you can't keep them from overflowing in the parking lot, why move them halfway closer to the water? That was my first slash mark on this whole idea. But, okay, I'm on board with this. See how it works.
Let's move on to old business. The 2019 Sag Harbor Water Quality Study.
Yes, Dr. Francis. Jim and I have met with members of the Sag Harbor Village Harbor Committee, the Sag Harbor Yacht Club, other private parties, municipal parties over the past several months pertaining to the 2019 Sag Harbor Village Water Quality Initiative. And they are moving forward, which is great. There was a few speed bumps during 2018. And Dr. Goldberg is going to bring some of the 2018 study forward into 2019 as a credit. And Sag Harbor Village and other members of the community are going to donate monies to the 2019 project and we informally discussed making a contribution of $5,000 previously, as well as being the conduit for municipal funds, as Stony Brook University needs a municipality with an account with the university, and the trustees have one, and none of the other municipalities do at this time. So I would like to bring forth a proper resolution tonight on those 2 points and ask for the board's formal support for our participation.
I'd like to second that.
Can I just ask a question first?
Of course. This is exactly what we did last year.
There was a problem with that last year, and how has that been?
Well, the participation of one of the municipalities got delayed, tangled up in paperwork, so the ultimate participation will be formalized and done in a timely manner. If we want to put a back-end date on it this year, we can't control what another party is going to do, but the parties that are committed to participate,
I guess, has that issue been addressed in these meetings you've had and a positive conclusion reached on going forward into this year, getting money together?
The municipalities that will participate have committed to doing so in a timely manner. I don't have a written contract that has a back-end date on it, but there is a cooperation that's been...
Yeah, there was a couple things that went on down there. I mean, one was the issue of payment, that one of the municipalities participating in this was very slow in paying their bills. But there was also some problems on Dr. Gobler's end. He had some staffing issues, which resulted in some of the testing that was done wasn't either completed or some of the samples were allowed.
I think some of the staffing issues was because of the funds that weren't.
Well, we hashed all of that out. Dr. Gobler's proposal for 2019 took into account some of the shortcomings in 2018, so the overall price structure was somewhat lower because he's redoing some of his work that he had committed to in 2018. And after a lot of deliberation with some of the participants, I think Rick and I were both pretty confident that we had kind of reached an agreement here that one gets the data collected that's desperately needed here, because this was part of a pilot to try and do some, to actually, base projects on the data that was collected here. So I think we're much closer to that now.
Okay.
And this contract that you have here, or resolution, is the same as last year?
Very similar.
Okay.
So if it's all right, I'd like to read it into the record.
Sure.
Well, he's reading a resolution, that'll be the vote, right?
Vote on the resolution. Okay. Whereas the cleanliness and health of the waters in the Sag Harbor area continue to be of utmost importance to the residents of Southampton, Sag Harbor, and East Hampton, and whereas the health of the marine species, organisms, and crustaceans are also of the utmost importance to the residents in Bayman of Southampton, Sag Harbor, and East Hampton, and whereas the town of Southampton, the Southampton Town Trustees, the Village of Sag Harbor, and the East Hampton Town Trustees have agreed to participate in the second year of water quality monitoring proposed by Dr. Gobler of Stony Brook University, and whereas the Southampton Town Trustees pledged to contribute $5,000 towards this water quality initiative for 2019, and whereas the sole purpose of adhering to the SUNY Research Foundation's funding requirements, the Southampton Town Trustees have again agreed to pool these funds in escrow and fund the initiative with a single check.
So, excuse me, Jim, sounds like East Hampton Town Trustees.
Yeah, the East Hampton Town Trustees.
Okay.
Yes,
I heard you say South.
I'm sorry, it's East Hampton, excuse me. Whereas the East Hampton Town Trustees, by virtue of holding the title escrowee, shall assume no responsibility to manage, direct, or oversee this project. And the town of Southampton, Southampton Town Trustees, and Sag Harbor Village shall hold harmless the trustees as escrowee for any act, incident, omission, injury, accident, environmental damage, property damage, or otherwise, or any state, federal, or local municipal violation arising out of or relating to this project. And whereas all financial contributions from the participating municipalities must be written out to East Hampton Town Trustees for the benefit of the Research Foundation of the State of New York, and must be received by the East Hampton Town Trustees by September 15, 2019, so that proceeds can be paid to Stony Brook University by October 1st, 2019. And now therefore be it resolved, the East Hampton Town Trustees shall pledge $5,000 to this initiative, and upon clearing of all municipal checks in the East Hampton Town upon the clearing of all municipal checks into the escrow, the East Hampton Town Trustees will write a check for up to $19,500 payable to the Research Foundation of the State of New York, representing the balance owed on the Sag Harbor Water Quality Initiative proposal.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion?
I'll second. John's made the motion, I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and we want to also offer an RFP to catalog trustee holdings in the Northwest Harbor area.
Correct. This was another item that was brought up for discussion. I believe it was approved via a motion at the last meeting. If I'm not mistaken, we voted on issuing the RFP. And I just would like to read the RFP into the record, so people that are out there and are interested.
When will this be made available?
If we submit it on Friday to the press, it'll be in the following Thursday edition.
Okay.
So it'll be available in 10 days or so. And we could also perhaps make it available at the office on Friday when it goes to the Star, and make it available at the office if that's okay with everyone. So this request for proposal, the East Hampton Town Trustees request the proposal for historic research on the Trustee Northwest Harbor area holdings. The trustees of the freeholders and commonalty of the town of East Hampton are considering conducting historical and legal research on trustee holdings and related properties in the area of Northwest Harbor. The goal of this effort is to develop a catalog of properties held by the trustees. The scope of research would include historic documentation and maps, deeds and other recorded documents, geography and any other pertinent documentation, ownership rights, and the various areas and uses of these properties will be researched, documented, and recording in the proposed catalog. Properties will be referenced in the legacy catalog of trustee properties prepared by Rick Whalen, the Dongan Patent, Historic Trustee Records, Historic Town Records, and other relevant documents. Some of these documents will be included in the request for proposal package, and others will be made available upon request at the trustee office, East Hampton Town Hall, and the East Hampton Library. Further research may be necessary with the Suffolk County Department of Records and the New York State. Properties to be considered are Northwest Harbor, Northwest Creek, Little Northwest Creek, Barnes Meadow and adjacent creek, Ellive Brook and Pond, beaches along Northwest Harbor, marshes along the creeks, trustee roads throughout state, town, and county parklands. All proposals on this project are to include detailed information, including proposed scope of work, research methods, project timeline, and cost. A presentation to the trustee board upon completion of the project will also be required. All proposals must be submitted in writing to the trustee office located at 267 Bluff Road, Amagansett, New York, 11930, by Thursday, July 18th at 4 p.m. Submitted proposals will be opened and reviewed on Friday, July 19th at 1 p.m. by at least 2 members of the trustee board and the trustee secretary. The reviewing trustees will recommend the most suitable proposal to the trustee board, and it will be voted upon at the July 22nd trustee meeting at Town Hall. Is everyone okay with it?
Just one thing, Rick, it's probably obvious, but it doesn't, it says a presentation to the trustee board upon completion will also be required, but I guess it's assumed that a report will have to be generated out of this, but it doesn't actually say that. So we wouldn't want somebody to think they can give a presentation to the trustees.
The RFP is to create a catalog.
So we can say, if you'd like to change it slightly, John, a report and a written report and presentation, so that it's clearer.
Yeah, okay.
Would that be fair? So Chris, can we just make a small amendment to this?
Yes.
All right. Proposals
I have
to
some
July 18th.
under committees for education, when we get to that. Thank you.
I would just say, at the culmination of the research, a written report and presentation to the trustee board will be required.
That's great. Okay. So everyone's okay with it? Okay, very good. Okay, thank you, Francis. Thanks. Good luck. Thank you. I think it's going to be a very interesting project.
I think it leaves it open as well. If we don't, if we don't get the bid that we like, or we're just not comfortable at this time with bids that, it leaves it open anywhere. We can vote on and say, look, maybe this isn't the right approach, or what have you, so
Or
it's
you
not
can
saying.
change, or you can adjust the scope of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Leaves the approach open.
Very good.
All right, committee reports. Accabonac Hog Creek, 305 Kings Point Road, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-24-12, application for bulkhead reconstruction. I think they want to close it out, correct?
Yes. I received a letter from Christian Chu of First Coastal Corp. This is Billy Mack's project. I had visited myself. I showed pictures, and then Francis and we went back and visited together. And the letter today's, or it's dated June 18th, that 305 Kings Point Road, please find attached the ZBA's feedback on the proposed project, and they're currently...
This isn't closing something out. This
No,
is,
we're approving.
okay.
We're approving, we're closing.
Right.
We are
The other
currently working on having the survey updated to meet the ZBA's requests. For your records, I've attached a copy of the New York State DEC permit for the project. So I have that in here. We also, as I said, I showed pictures of the property. I had gone there and put them on the screen at the last meeting that I was attending. And so I'd like to, at this time, make a motion to approve the permit for the work to be done, which is the bulkheading repair. And I do have more pictures here if you'd like to review them again. These are from Billy, from First Coastal itself.
Actually, you can keep the whole thing together.
Keep the whole thing?
Yeah, that way you
So,
don't screw it
Del,
up.
do you want to see first? Okay. But everything is in order, and
So the talk on this one, this bulkhead is for replacement and raising at 18 inches,
yes,
correct?
correct, yes.
So that's the one you put up on the board?
Yes, I have the
And it's
pictures
sort
for
of
that.
tied
Yes,
into
it's
the
going to meet,
neighbors.
yes, it will meet exactly, they're going to use the vinyl bulkheading material, and
Now, do they have a stair or anything coming down off of this bulkhead? Is that proposed?
yes, there is a stair.
Okay, they propose to replace that?
You have to, no. Just one sec.
If they're replacing the whole bulkhead,
The whole bulkhead.
how are we going to do this without replacing the stair? Because the
Just
stair,
connect it and then reconnect.
because the stair's connected. No, the only thing I'm asking is are the existing stairs, is it like a breakaway stair? Is it something
No,
that's
it's-
taken out in the winter?
No.
Well, here, why don't I send you
Yeah.
the pictures and that will help you. The stairs are in good shape, it's the bulkhead that's the problem.
Yeah, but are the stairs wood?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, but the stairs, I'm just guessing.
Part of the
they're-
bulkhead.
They're part of the bulkhead. Okay, so maybe the thing to do is the portion that comes down onto our beach is to do what we've done before and ask them to replace that with something like an aluminum or breakaway stair that can be lifted up during periods of storm or at the end of the season, just that this isn't some flotsam that's drifting around.
So we have to pay for pulling it off the beach.
So we don't have to pay for pulling it off the beach, yes. Can we modify that motion to include making some changes to the stair, to modifying the stairs?
Okay, I will get back to them, and
Well, we can
vote
just
on this
require
tonight.
it. Yeah, we can just require it in the permit.
okay. Well,
And this would be what? Aluminum, hinged?
Yeah, aluminums, I'll tell you what, they're pretty inexpensive. They're light enough that they can be lifted up. When you're making them out of wood, they're really unwieldy.
to deal with, and there's guys that just produce these things. You don't have to, it's not a custom deal at all.
What is the cost compared to wood you mentioned?
I gotta tell you, it's pretty cheap. It's cheaper than doing them out of wood.
So it's not a burden on the homeowners?
No, not at all.
Unless they get a custom job, custom.
Well, I mean, there's guys like, you know, there's companies out there that are close by that will, you know, you give them the run and the elevation difference.
Yeah,
They'll give you a set of steps, and they're pretty.
We bought an aluminum ladder with a cage around it from a company in Tennessee when I was at the hatchery, and I was pretty surprised how inexpensive it was.
Someone want to make a motion on this one?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Here, also, Jim, I'll give you that, and you can take a look at that.
I'll make a motion to approve contingent on them coming back to us with a modification on the stairs.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Clearwater Beach Property Owners Association, Suffolk County Tax 30023-3. -1, request to close out trustee permit HC number 1-18 for 2018-19 dredging.
Okay, I took a second trip there, also with Francis. I did also display pictures at the last meeting, showing you what the new bulkheading repair looks like, and
Okay, this is the dredging.
this is for dredging, yes, everything has been completed.
I think the question was where the dredge spoiled.
And that was sent to the left-hand side, it's under, it's called a
On
Y.
their property.
It's on your property, stashed away. So if you're
And apparently
walking,
what they've been doing is Lion's Head
Trucks it over to them.
occasionally, but right now it's all there.
Something they owe us for sand.
so if you come into the marina, it would be to the right, and it's behind this large, it almost looks like a berm of spoil, and it's tucked away in there.
Is there a plan to move it to the beach?
We didn't, he didn't say.
No
Just said it's
plan.
here, if we want it, we can have it.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It's just sitting there.
They have no place for it to go. It's not nice stuff.
Is that
It's-
an approved spoil site?
The DEC is aware of it.
They've been putting stuff there for a while. This is probably part of the bigger pile.
Do we have any leverage here to say that our sand?
I always thought our policy in the past
Right
was,
there.
if it wound up on public beach, on Trustee Beach, basically it was returned to the public's use. If it was not, then the applicant paid a fee of whatever it was, $7 a yard.
But this wasn't on the beach, it was in the channel.
Was that not trustee bottom line?
It's actually, when we talked about putting it on the beach,
Yeah,
he
but-
said that nobody wants it. It's so granular and thick, and
No, it is.
it's not sandy beach, white, it's dark color. It's very
Best
granular.
stuff, although.
Yeah, but it's material that can be placed on a beach to stem
It's been
erosion,
going on for a long time. That's
rising
just-
tides and things.
Well, I mean, if we haven't been charging them for the sand in the past.
No, we have. We did.
I actually thought that when they came to us originally, that was one of the things that when we decided to forego charging for the sand, was that Lionhead was taking the sand, it was going to end up on public beach.
The
and
last time-
that's why we did it.
I think the last time this was done, Lionhead took the majority of it, and Clearwater took a little bit less, but there was a split in the responsibility to the trustees financially.
I think we're going to have to look in the records.
And then and last year, I think they missed the window, and they didn't.
Yes, they had to wait.
It was very shoaly. A lot of the boaters there had a lot of trouble.
I think I remember, that was in
Right.
2017, right?
Or 2018.
They started late this year.
Yeah.
So this year, they have a permit from the DEC. They'll get it accomplished before the end of the year, in December. They'll dredge again.
So I think we should do a little more research and then see if there are possibly compatible uses for this material rather than just stockpiling it. I think there is another discussion maybe that needs to be had. But I believe 2017 it was used by their associations and paid for the last time it was used.
Because I do think, there is use for that sand, because you have all of the houses, if you go a little bit this way, once you get down, see this whole area here? That's all at such a deficit of material. There's a potential market locally for that sand.
So what are we suggesting then?
I mean, it probably depends on what that permit says, the AC 118.
I mean, if they don't,
If it's
maybe...
not in there, in the requirement, then we really don't have much leg to stand on, I wouldn't think. But we should probably...
We need to look at that.
Well, the permit reads this: dredge approximately 3,900 cubic yards of material from the inlet to Hog Creek to a depth of 8 feet to restore navigability. 1,500 cubic yards of dredged material will be placed on Clearwater Beach Property Owners Association, and 2,400 cubic yards of dredged material will be placed on Lionhead Beach Civic Association. And I believe, Francis, when we were there, that James Cafaro is his name, said that some was taken to Lion's Head. Some. Dredge material will be placed on Lion's Head for final disposition. All construction vehicles will access the project site via Kings Point Road. So,
I'll tell you what, this actually might be something that we don't have to shake down the Clearwater Association directly for. If they're willing to stockpile this stuff, there are some property owners along there that really could use some sand replenishment. And if they go through the permit process, we could actually secure payment from the individual property owners that do their sand replenishment. They get to chew up some of their sand. They don't have to pay us. It's kind of like a deferred payment thing.
Yeah, it's just, we did have an ongoing relationship based on a certain structure.
Yeah.
If we want to get creative, that's fine,
Is
but
that the structure, though?
I was always under the understanding, and this predates Rick and I being on the board, but when we first got on there, and they came to renew a dredging permit, that was one of the issues, that they were kind of grousing about having to pay us for the sand.
Yeah, so we just allowed them to deposit it onto their property, period, with no further discussion about...
To me, that was kind of, to me, a loose end, because we've done this, just as an example, we've done something similar to this at Devon, okay? For years, we were charging Devon Yacht Club, they would dredge out, and they were placing that material on their property. They were paying us, okay? The last 2 times Devon has been dredged, they've taken that material and they've spread it on the beach. And at that point, the sand has been returned to the public beaches. We didn't charge them anything.
And that was part of their DEC permit and trustee?
It was part of their trustee permit.
And they had to get the DEC to sign off on allowing them to do that?
Well, the fact that it was being distributed as part of the littoral drift, yes. Yes, DEC had no issues with that.
So I don't know, I would say at the least, in the future, we should incorporate some of this language.
Absolutely.
You need to look at 2017, and, I think there was an understanding with these associations for many years.
Yeah.
So I think revisiting this is important.
It's always come down to where the sand ultimately winds up.
Right.
If it's going from a trustee bottom to a trustee beach, we've never charged, we haven't charged for it. If it's going from a trustee bottom to a private property.
I'm going to tell you guys, I look at this as being one of those deals where if there's a pile of sand that's more or less in their way, and it's compatible and it's not sand down there, it's sand and like gravel. If it's compatible with what you got down the beach, and there are some homeowners that I know need to do some, make back some replenishment, and it would be a good deal for the homeowner if they're able to buy the sand, or their contractor is able to buy the sand from the trustees at $7 a yard, is a pretty good deal.
In this case, I would agree with that, but I think in the future, we should
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you
The
there.
question leading up to this last moment is, we have another dredging permit that he's already come in to pay for. Am I
Yes, that's the same thing, so you could renew
So-
it with these new terms on this year's dredging
Because
application.
they have applied for this year, in December of 2019, to dredge. So we should then craft the language that you want to have in the document.
Well, maybe we should hold off on both of these, do you think? And like look back at the
Yeah.
previous year's permits and get all this kind of on the same page?
No, okay. All right, so question for you then is, I will go back to them and suggest that we would like to see the sand used that's been stockpiled by homeowners who may be in need, and tell them how much it is a yard.
But
Yeah, and ask how much of it was used on their beaches, because that is a point of discussion we probably should have. And going forward, you may want to have Chris take a look at 2017 and some prior permits and language before we do anything with
All right.
19.
All righty. And I do have the, going back also to the bulkheading, I'll just repeat this for the record. The north bulkhead, 35 feet core, 10 steel. There's the DEC permit for December 31st dredging, which is also on our agenda this evening.
Can I stop you first?
Yes?
We didn't close this one out yet.
Oh, sorry. I'm moving right along too rapidly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyone want to make a motion to close it?
The dredging permit?
Yes.
Aren't we going
I
to
thought we were
discuss
table
the
it.
table
I
that?
thought we were going to do this and do that for the next permit that they just applied for.
I thought we were going to look into how to use the stockpile of sand and... I think we have a
Okay, so
little
I
more research
misunderstood.
there. Yeah, I think we have a
Okay.
little more research there.
Okay, no problem.
That's okay.
yeah, so we're painting ourselves into a corner.
So we're going to table it,
Yes.
Both of them.
Okay, so tabling,
and that won't be holding anybody up?
No.
Okay, good.
table,
Yeah, they're not going to dredge to the winter.
table the dredging for 2019, 2020.
Table that one.
So now we're on,
And now we have the trustee bulkhead reconstruction, which is what I was reading the materials for. All right.
This is, wait, just as the number one or number four?
This would be number 4. Okay, all the 3 previous ones are being tabled. So this is property, tax map number 323, I'm sorry?
We approved the first
We
one.
passed number one.
Approved number one.
Well, contingent upon the stairs.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And 2 and
I have to
3
go
are
back up the
Where's
stairs.
your table? 4 is the code.
4 is for the closeout trustee permit for the bulkhead. So I'm just reiterating the materials that are used. I do have 2 surveys, everything else is in place. 616 feet of vinyl bulkhead with green heart whalers and piling. And Francis, again, came and saw it. We walked the entire property. I did take pictures. I put them up last time and showed everybody what it was. And this is now completed.
It's a nice upgrade.
Oh, they did.
They did a really good job.
Really looks much better,
Good.
much safer.
They used
Make a
eBay.
motion that we close this.
Thank you.
Second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, and then the Clearwater Beach Property Owners Association application for 2019 to 2020.
That's tabled until we look at the history.
Yep, thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
Oh, this is yours.
Sure.
Okay, great, thank you. Every now and then, a worthwhile project, in my eyes, comes around, as it was when we gave a one-time gift to the Marine Museum on Bluff. And then I discovered a great group of people that are working so hard to educate people about the history of East Hampton, and that would be the East Hampton Museum opposite the firehouse on Cedar. They don't have...
Farm museum?
I'm sorry?
Farm
Yes,
museum.
yeah. So, that being said, things are difficult financially, they won't tell you that, but it is. People have donated from generations great items, and I would like to just propose that we give them a one-time gift of $300. They worked so hard, and I just think it's really something that jives with the history of the trustees, and I just think would be a really nice gesture, and they would be really, really thankful.
I would second that.
I've got a better idea. I just donated my player piano to them, and it weighs about 800 pounds. So I need somebody to get it over there. Maybe with the $300, they can rent a truck or something, because I can't help them with that. But
I'd second the 300.
Yeah, thanks. I want them to do whatever they want with the
They did it,
300.
they've tried to do some good things there. We had a Boy Scout camporee, which was for the East Hampton, Southampton, Sag Harbor troops just a year or so ago. And, it's one of those, the town preserves some of these properties, and sometimes I don't think it's really well thought out as to how you're going to use these. And it's a very interesting property, and it would be nice if they can develop a greater interest in it.
Sure.
And a greater utility. If $300 helps them in that area.
I fully support that.
They do a lot over there, too.
They do a lot with their children. They're doing a old-time baseball.
Oh, yeah,
You could revisit it next year, but they would, when I had mentioned that maybe we could do something, they just lit up.
No.
And they play baseball on Saturday, and they're gonna have food and drinks.
So we have a motion.
It's wonderful.
Most of your time.
I second it.
Everybody's in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Good.
Thank
Good
you
job.
so much.
That's great. That is great. As long as we're on education, can I pop in with a little notice about turtles? Because on the salt marsh, they are hiding underneath bramble and so forth. So I have this. This comes from our Department of Natural Resources. And so I asked them to make a copy, and I'm actually, we're posting them. We have one in the office? Yes. I think so. So about the boxwood turtles.
Box turtles.
Why am I calling them boxwood? Sorry, not bushes, box turtles.
It's an English plant.
Moving
If you do see one, yes. If you do see a turtle, please don't take it home. And this poster says, "I am protected by law. It's illegal to possess me in many states. I grow slowly and need time to mature. I might live 30 to 40 years, but only have one surviving young. My population depends on me. Taking me home can result in local population decline." And I support the turtle rescue of the Hamptons.
Biggest threat, I'd love to add something here.
Sure.
Biggest threat to box turtles occurs right now, okay? And tomorrow morning will be one of those days. We're due to have rain tonight, and when you get a rain during the night, the next morning, box turtles will typically look to move, okay? This time of the year, they're relocating for two reasons. Their diet begins to change, and they're looking to get laid, okay? So,
Is that turtle talk?
that's it.
Oh, that's turtle dog.
That said, when you go to work in the morning, keep an eye out for the box turtles, because from dawn until about 10:30, 11 o'clock, they're going to be making their move, and that's when they get killed, okay? People don't see them. They cross the road very slowly, and if you do see one crossing the road, just take a moment and watch which way he's really going, because if somebody has already turned him around, he's just going to go back in the direction he was. Help him across the street, you'll save a life, you'll actually improve some individuals' chances of procreation, and, they are kind of a very interesting and unique creature to our area. And when I was a kid, you would find box turtles all sizes, okay? You'd find little, $half-dollar box turtles up to the full-grown ones, and, ask yourself when the last time you found a baby box turtle was. It's pretty infrequently,
But I did find them on the salt marsh at Ecobonic Harbor on our last survey day. And they hide and everything, but The Turtle Rescue of the Hamptons does a great job with
I kind of wish SOFO
taking
would-
care of the turtles that are damaged. And I
Yeah.
have to say, when people, they need to slow down right now. They need to slow their vehicles down because these poor turtles are getting hit and it's, they're endangered. So if everybody is,
So watch out for them.
yeah.
Well,
And what Jim is saying is
the
true,
thing
put them in the
time
same
that you're going to
direction.
see them is after a rain. Then very rarely are you going to see box turtle crossing the road at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's always going to be after a rain. It's always when the road is kind of still moist, wet. That's when they like to make their moves. And actually, it's funny you brought this up because I was thinking, it would be something good for SOFO to do because they're very focused on that. And it's not like you see the turtles. It's not like a deer. It's not like you see them all the time. They really just move right after rains, and it's unfortunate because I helped 2 of them across the street just on 27, just going to East Hampton a week ago.
We used to have turtle signs on the roads.
But at the same time, I saw one got hit later that day, and that wasn't getting saved.
I think people take them home.
But that was good to Turtle Crossing.
And they've been actually underwrote all those signs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the trick is to find out which way they're going.
Yes,
before you
and
make-
then carry it off the road in that
Take a
direction.
second.
They usually are going toward water.
No, because they really,
Ponds,
because
where I
no,
am
they're not a tortoise, they're not a turtle, they're more of a tortoise. They live their entire life away from the water. In fact, if
Then
you
what
put 'em-
turtles am I finding by Chatfields?
maybe painted turtles or red-eared sliders that somebody let go. Okay, that's not a native turtle.
Well, they could be
found all
box
over the
turtles,
place.
but they're not going to the water necessarily. We find them around the marsh in Accabonac as well. Could be good food. But they're not going.
And then you get the diamondback terrapins, they're actually in the water.
Don't they lay their eggs in the sandy roads?
So the biggest one I've ever seen, the largest box turtle I've ever seen like this,
Yeah?
in Lazy Point last week.
Wow.
On the beach, crossing my wall. Wow. We just help them out, but when we were kids, we used to collect them for the summer, feed them,
Oh, yeah.
and turtles.
I've hatched, we've occasionally, over the years, moving trees,
Don't do that
dug up the
now.
eggs, and what we've done is brought them home, we hatched 2 clutches of eggs when
Wow.
the kids were little, and had box turtles for years. Shouldn't have done that.
Wow. One year I found a snap-ring turtle. Police came because the thing is huge. I took
Yeah.
pictures of it. It's monstrous, prehistoric. But, anyway, so thank you for that extra moment about the turtles.
All right, thanks for bringing it up.
Education.
Agriculture, are we still doing the mosquito study?
And
Yes.
we've had, today was the 4th week. We've only gone twice, however. We've been told on the 10th and today, the 24th, not to bother because the conditions aren't really such that they need to spray anyway. So we went on the 3rd and the 17th. They didn't spray as a result of what we found on the 3rd. 17th, there was some hot spots. We did a limited spraying in the northern part of the harbor only. So,
Yeah.
I have a question. Any new concerns about Methoprene, how dangerous it is? Any new research? Because, there's so much pro and con, and it depends upon who you talk.
controversy continues.
Okay, yeah.
It's been the same. But the good news is that we're
using
targeting the hot spots as opposed to spraying. I have a video that was given to me by Edwina Von Gaal. She is on my team. I start from the north, and John starts at Edwina's house and works south. But she took a video, and she's invited me to come up and want to see this. It's almost like they're suicide helicopter pilots, where they go right down into about 10 feet off the ground, and they know exactly where the hot spots are because we have our GPS from our iPhones with the program. So they are really targeting, and the goal is, as John and I, when we went to the county legislator's office at the invitation of Bridget Fleming to discuss the program, We did a little slide presentation showing what we had done. And the vector person who's in charge of the distribution of the Methoprene and BTI, his goal, and all of our goal, is to eliminate Methoprene if possible, because we would like to restore the salt marsh to a healthy.
That's interesting, because when I spoke to him, assuming it was the same person, a couple of years ago,
That was a different person, I think.
he was like, making reference to mother's milk. It's not a big deal.
I don't think it was Tom.
Dominic, right?
No, we have Tom Iwaneko.
There's a new guy.
Yeah, okay.
Tom,
That's what the guy was telling me. It's not a big deal.
He was old school.
And he was going like this.
I think this program started, like, right in that corner where we are pretty much.
I know what the big deal is.
The town and the trustees.
He said to me.
And Dominic.
That's the way he looked at it.
Yeah.
And we decided to try and work together.
No, Tom has been great. The current vector control head is really very reasonable fellow, and he said at the meeting, he would like to stop spraying completely, distributing the Methoprene, but he also has to look out for the county's health. So if you have West Nile, as we did last year, 35 or 36 cases were reported, and a horse died in Watermill from West Nile disease. So I think that we're getting to where we want to go. It's just, they need the data, and hopefully this year, as Tom said, he's hoping that this year will provide enough data so that perhaps this can stop, that Methoprene can stop, but we'll have to see.
So after you get 3 years of data, sometimes you can do marsh management.
Well,
That's what
Tom's giving us, indicating that we may, after this year, we may have enough information to begin some remediation work in the marsh next year. He said that more than, he said it once, and I was a little skeptical, but he said it more
Yeah,
than once.
they want 3 years of data, and then you can look into filling the holes.
I got to tell you, though, and I always kind of like to be funny, but remember the birds, Alfred Hitchcock?
Yes.
That's how I felt one day when I was at Lazy Point. I went to go on the new trail. There's a trail there. I got halfway, and I was like attacked. And I didn't even think I could run that fast anymore to get back to the bloody truck. It was brutal.
That's what I
From
hear.
mosquitoes?
Yeah.
Remember last year I told you that one spot in Lazy Point on the Merrill Road? That's exactly the feeling I had. I couldn't get back to my car fast enough. They swarmed around me. I've
heard that it's like a...
You never lived in Lazy Point.
Would you like to come up and speak? Would you, Joan, why don't you come up and speak?
I just want to say,
Okay.
at Lazy Point, 2 people, blood dripping down.
Yeah, it's terrible. I've heard from other neighbors that you have, that it's like a black shield. You open the doors.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And the spray doesn't help?
And you people want to stay there.
For 35 years more. Right.
Oh, that stuff.
Keep drinking wine. The mosquitoes will shoot.
All right.
I don't get much of it.
Horseshoe crabs?
Okay, horseshoe crabs, we basically, are you presenting slides?
I just made a graph for finding.
Oh, all right, well, I'll just
So we done?
tell you that we're done for the season, although we have 3 more dates that are on our schedule, and I did write to Matt Sclafani at Cornell, and I haven't heard back from him as to whether or not he wants us to
A
continue.
lady filled in for me
Our-
last time, and
We only got one
virtually
female.
none.
I wanted to
We saw
get
one
your
female.
Data and Tim Garneau's data and Frank Bebedo's data and make some more graphs, but I haven't gotten that yet. So I just thought I'd show what we found. This is 2019. We have a perfect bell curve going here, starting in May 2nd, peaking the 2 days after the full moon, May 21st, and then falling off to one crab the last 2 days after the last full moon.
What do they represent? Number of
That's similar to ours. The only thing that's funny is ours was like the 2 days before the full,
Yeah, that's only 3 days, 4 days difference.
No, but you know what was wild, is the night of the fall was not very impressive. It did, you know, it's how it...
I think the wind...
But we actually found three crabs that had previously been tagged. Unfortunately, one of them had been tagged about a week and a half before we found it, and it was dead. But we found two that I guess we tagged last year, but we didn't keep the number sequence that we had last year, so we're waiting to hear back from Matt Sclafani.
What do you mean they didn't keep the numbers? Didn't we have?
No, we had numbers, but we didn't keep the data of what number sequence we put out last year. So I sent it in with my reporting, and...
I've got copies of it.
And we'll probably have...
Of the numbers that we did.
Because I handed all of our data in at the end of the year.
I did it on computer, then emailed it in, and then kept the originals.
Hey, John, what, do you have the water temperature data for these dates?
Yes.
Not with me.
Oh, we did take the water temperature.
I'd be interested, because I have some magic numbers.
Kind of, it's increased pretty, on a regular.
Throw out around 60 degrees as the magic number for the peak.
I think it was 15 I think it was about 15, 16 when we started seeing a lot.
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
If you have it, it'd be interesting.
And we did water temperatures on both the, inside the cove and on the outside. Yes, we did it both
Pretty
ways.
steady 2 degree difference between, 2 degrees Celsius between creek and the bay and the harbor. Just for comparison, this is our data from last year on the same scale, so you can see from 1 year to the next.
You know, last year, you guys didn't have very many.
No.
Peak was 59. This year our peak was 159.
Yeah, we had, I think, 240, 250 was our peak.
This
Our
year?
peak night, yeah.
And that's more than you found last year, right?
Yeah, but not dramatically more, no.
You know, it was interesting this year, I noticed that last year we had a female with several males surrounding, and then this year it was mostly one female, one male. I think they got married.
Yeah. Well, we saw kind of evidence that we probably missed a harvest, okay, because we hit, like, one night, we had not a lot of females, and males just roaming, like aimlessly, cruising. So I think what had happened earlier that day is somebody had come through and collected some bait.
Yeah, we had one, I did Cedar Point one evening, we exchanged. Tim Garneau went with John because he brought some high school students, including his sons, and they hadn't seen anything at Cedar Point, so I did it. And it was definitely an easier way to go than ours, because ours is rather long at Northwest Harbor. But, oh my God, my brain just stopped thinking about what at Cedar Point.
Oh, we'll come back.
Yes, well, there were none there, really. They saw, I think, one or two, and then we had a ton.
We ended up with a couple, an Irish couple, that showed up randomly one night and said, hey, they wanted to go out, and they had their 2 young kids with them. We want to go out and check out the Horseshoe Crabs. Now, we had a couple nights previous, we had some other people show up that, I'm going to be honest, it was kind of a pain in the ass. But these people, they were into it, okay? And they weren't into it a little bit. They were into it where they showed up, you know, because you started out at like 8:30 at night, and the last one you're going out at 12:30. These people are showing up, man. They're there.
Yeah.
And you know what? They were such a huge help, because there was a couple of these nights where the wind was blowing.
Or the fog.
Choppy, you couldn't see very well. We got in a line. They actually found the one dead one that had been tagged. Like a following day, they took their kids out. And one of the things they found is that these things will go back into those little drains, into the marsh, and they'll get landlocked, and then the marsh dries out.
Right.
And depending on what the weather that was.
We had a
that
couple
day, and
when
that's what looked like it
Jenna
happened.
came with us.
But that's what looked like what happened to the one that we found that was dead. But these people, they were great, and I think next year they're going to be a resource, because I think they'd be willing to take
another area.
Well,
We
I
had
was
some
just going to
people-
say that, we should get these
Oh, no, man,
names.
they were like,
Because
they were
there's a
like,
lot of
they
areas
were
we
like,
could check.
they were like troopers, man. They
Well,
were-
the women that we saw the other night, they were from Tim's group that night that I went there. And what I was going to say is there was a boat that was moored out, and the lights, they were following. And we stopped because one of the women had a camera and she wanted to take pictures. And as she was photographing, and I'm pointing down with my light so she has a little flash going, that boat was targeted to us. And I think that there were some poachers out there.
Well,
You know?
They might-
And then
They could be harvested.
Yeah, that could be
They can
illegal
take 200.
harvest.
Oh, that's true,
Individuals
200,
take 200.
which is amazing since we only saw 159 at one
200
night.
per season or?
Okay.
Per day.
Day?
Yes, that's a lot of
Do as
horseshoe
the
crabs.
season
per-
progresses.
You guys are only seeing 100 and they're
Allowed to take, yes.
crazy.
Well,
Hey,
there's-
Jim, I appreciate you dealing with those people. They were very nice. They called me, and I sent them down
Yeah.
to you because I told, they were really interested in this whole...
Well, they had come back from Cape May, New Jersey, where they happened on these guys checking, doing the beaches, doing the same thing we were doing. But they didn't have 200. They had like over 100,000 on the beach.
Oh, yeah.
And they did the, you know, the quad walk.
Right.
Well, the thing that was a pisser is you know how you have that whole formula, however many paces? Well, the night they checked it, they did the paces, and there wasn't a freaking crab in any of the drops. So at the end of the night, you're looking at this beach covered with crabs, and the count was 0.
Gosh, and Pikes is in
Yeah,
West.
they get a lot.
They had 835 one night.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like a carpet of horseshoe crabs,
yeah, it's kind of cool.
so. So I don't know if we're going to continue or not. I would think not. I'm seeing one horseshoe crab, but there are 3 dates
No,
attached.
I saw it. Yeah, I think it's.
I think it's over.
It's over.
All right, let's move on to Napeag Lazy Point. Request to remove Marilyn Badkin from her lease for lot number 19N.
Yeah, Chris, do we have everything we need on that now?
I have the affidavit here.
And it's notarized?
Properly notarized.
Okay, I think that's all we were waiting on. I'd like to make a motion that we accept this.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I met Janice Badkin this weekend doing my crates, oyster crates.
Skip Georgia.
All right.
Well, that was Joe.
Payment of the bills. East Hampton Star, $193 for a help wanted ad for the pump out boat. Seacoast Enterprises, $945. Montauk Marine Basin, $46.30. Star Island Yacht Club, $31.44. Staples, $288.91. And Ready Fresh, which is water, $62.31.
I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills.
All in favor?
Hey, just want to make a comment about our new pump-out boat operator. He stopped by the office today. He's absolutely thrilled that he pumped out 46 boats this weekend.
Awesome.
This guy's into it, and you know what? It's really nice. It's great. It's a pleasure.
I spoke to Ed Michaels the other day. He's going to put together some training that they all need.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Hopefully in the next week or two, get everybody on the same page to get them all trained on what they need.
And then, of course, we'll pay him for the training time. It's only fitting, if it happens to go over the 40-hour work week. Okay.
All right, minutes, April 8th.
I think I read them and said that they were fine, I think. One of them I did not.
You didn't know.
Okay, so April I read and that was fine.
Okay.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes for April 8th.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and on this sheet, I also have May 13th.
Yeah, we got those.
You got
Sent those out.
I don't think anyone's due a council.
Oh, I looked at them.
I looked at them, I
May 13th?
edits.
May 13th.
I
Want
didn't
to make a
see any.
motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept May 13th minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
with my edits.
Aye.
All right, financial report for the month ended May 31st, 2019. Brian, you get a chance?
Well, you know, I gotta be honest with you. I looked at them, and they appear to be in order, so I'd make a motion that we accept them.
I'll second.
I don't see anything glaring, anything wrong, so.
So, motion, second?
Yeah.
Aye.
Going back to the pump-out boat,
Yeah.
I sent out the email to everybody for the declaration for our retiree, Sid Bai. If anybody has anything else they want to add,
No, it's very nice.
so I'll contact him and hopefully get him here to our next meeting, and I'll jazz it up a little, put it in a frame, and do the
Excellent.
corrections that I got from a couple people. and
It was very nice and thoughtful.
Thank you.
Put together.
I hope he can make it, so I can give it to him.
Oh, that's very nice.
Could I add
We finished
something
the
before we
vote on that
close?
financial report.
Oh,
We have a motion on the floor with regards
The
to
financial report.
financial report.
And it was seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and we have a renewal of a certificate of deposit, ending in the number 7248.
I'll make a motion, we roll it over.
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Okay.
One last
I have
thing.
a couple of things.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
Oh, okay. This was given to me by Edwina Von Gall, salt marsh plants of Long Island Sound. So it's very helpful, to me, and John came up with a very good idea.
Publication from the Connecticut College Arboretum. It's got pictures and photographs and diagrams. No, it's not new at all. But it's a good, simple salt marsh guide.
Actually, East Hampton High School used to use that as like a little, like a textbook.
Well, I thought it would be a nice gesture for our mosquito samplers to give them a copy, each a copy of one of those, so that they could take it along and know what
Nice
they're
little gift.
looking at.
Encourages them.
It's a really good book.
And then Susan had the idea that maybe we could actually sell these things along with T-shirts and things at some of these events. Connecticut College, you'll sell those for $5 each, but if you buy them in bulk, it's a 40% discount, so
What constitutes a bulk?
over 5.
So buy 6.
Well, there's about 10, 12
That's a deal.
samplers that we wanted to give to, but I thought we could...
24 hours.
We ordered 50.
Plants,
It
yeah.
would be
Describes them, there's a
$150
photograph,
plus
and it-
shipping.
it's very
That's
helpful.
including, that includes the 40%.
Because salt marsh, we're on the salt marsh with
I make a
mosquito
motion, we
larvae.
authorize up to
All of
$200
these
to
plants are
buy
on the salt marsh.
A second
about
motion.
50 of those from...
50?
From Connecticut College.
Okay, so whatever we don't use, I'll take to the Fisherman's Fair
there a
coming up in
second?
August.
Yeah.
I just paid for that today.
And if they don't, and for some reason, if they don't move, we can always put them in as
Give them prizes.
prizes at our clam contest. Seriously.
All in favor?
Give them away as
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And one other thing? But Bill wants to go first.
No, well, all I want to say is I hung up the kayak signs in 3 different locations. I don't know if there's any more. I went to Rouse Point,
Gerard Drive?
Gerard Drive, and
Settlers Landing?
Settlers Landing. That's where I
There you
went.
go. Good, excellent.
And they really look nice, and everybody, I looked around the racks just to kind of get an idea of what was happening, and everybody seemed to have stickers, and they were all stacked properly, and I didn't see really any problems, so
It's a good program. On that point, we talked about Mile Hill Road, and the last I remember, we were talking about, talking to Brian about getting the fellow that he used to build the last ones. I don't think Brian was at that meeting.
Right.
I don't know if that was...
Chris Hamilton, he'll do it. Very reasonable, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we need to make a motion, or do we?
I think we just get a price first, and I don't think we've actually talked to Ed Michaels or anybody about that yet.
And what are the specifics on that again?
Well, at the end of Mile Hill Road, there, in Northwest Harbor,
Oh, yes.
there's a people keep kayaks and small boats all over the beach.
I have
Kind of
pictures.
strewn all over in the winter.
Yeah.
We thought it would be a good place to establish, I think we talked about 3 kayak racks.
Okay.
So if we get a price on 3 kayak racks, and then we
Any
can...
of that county? Down there? No.
Would anyone like to see pictures of how it looks?
Now,
No? Does anybody
what I
want?
did at Baby's Beach, because people were taking those, I nailed them.
Exactly.
I need bottom ones, but I have top ones. So, let's see what happens. I nailed them, Jim. And I'll see what happens.
So I have one other thing. We're trying to get this oyster shell recovery project going, and a stumbling block we're having is where to keep the shell to cure it through the summer. And last year we had an area in the dump in Springs Fireplace Road. It wasn't very good, it was kind of wet and lumpy and grass growing all over it. So one suggestion Barley had was, in a pinch, would the Lazy Point launching ramp parking area kind of around the edges be a possibility?
It's time to give back.
That was used before.
Oh, yeah, it's been used.
But
It was scarlet.
Brian ended up having someone come down and spread them around the parking area there and crushed to straighten it out, remember that?
Right.
All those shells, yeah.
I gotta tell you, there's the interim period where them shells stink pretty bad.
Yeah.
It depends, it depends on how clean they are. The ones we picked up last year from Bay Kitchen Bar really didn't have much meat in them at all.
A lot of yellow
John,
jackets.
what type of a pile are you talking about? Just because the parking there is a little tight, that boat
Well,
ramp, it gets a lot of use,
They wouldn't want to be piled, that's the thing, they'd want to be spread thin.
so you could drive over?
It is a small area.
No, we want to use them again,
you don't
recycle
want
them.
You don't want them driven over.
When we
You
send that
want them
parking,
driven over, or you don't want them?
No, we don't.
don't put them in that
We want to use them for
And if
spat.
you don't want them driven over, the last place you want to put them is the parking lot.
Isn't there like a
boat
old
wrench.
abandoned,
Boat launch.
like concrete
Well,
somewhere?
Smith Meal has perfect, they're a little crumbly, but there's a lot of pads.
Yeah, that's what's
I
talking.
had-
Tom Dess?
I tried to talk to Tom Dess, I haven't gotten a response.
Saw him today.
I left a message and explained my reason for calling.
I probably would explain his reason for not calling.
I also have a call into Jim Brundage to see if there's any place at the airport that, off in the hinterland, that might be a...
Yeah.
Have we looked down there?
It's like the helipad at the airport.
Mariner,
Mariner Lane? I haven't looked
a
at
Mariner.
Yeah, 3 Mile Harbor, along 3 Mile Harbor.
Is that just to kind of dry them out?
Dump site.
It's to dry them out, and then what we did last year was shovel them into trucks and took them out to the hatchery and put them in a pile.
I don't think anybody's using that ramp
They
at
could
landing.
probably, not for nothing,
Landing road.
down at the hatchery, there's a pad right down there, could you?
Yeah, but there's, Parks Department has got an awful lot of stuff on there
Mariner Lane may be the answer.
This is in Montauk,
at the hatchery.
at the hatchery.
Yeah, the Parks Department keeps
Oh, yeah?
lifeguard stands, garbage pails, boats, lumber, all sorts of stuff there. There's not much room there. Plus, we're bordered
So a
with
parking
two
lot behind our offices.
condominium complexes,
Yeah.
Parking lot behind your office?
Why not the grass, why not the
Well-
grass section
No, you ain't
by
putting it-
Atlantic Avenue? Beyond that side parking, not beyond the parking. There's that big grass. Do they
people
park in
park there, yeah.
Yeah, that does get full. Plus, it's surrounded by houses. I think you'd have if it did smell.
Residents would be very distressed.
We should talk to the Andes, but I think Mariner Lane would be,
I'll check it out.
they have a gate there now, I think, to keep people out.
Time to go.
Okay, I have one thing also. Late today, got an email from Mike Bettini, and it was a copy of the Sea Otter Survey, yes. And,
River otter?
yes.
We don't have sea
And
otters on the East Coast.
invited him to come in,
Okay.
so I'm waiting for a response.
That'd be
But
interesting.
that was an interesting.
It's a real nice
yeah.
recovery story.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, what kind of pair of mittens you can make out of a river otter?
Anybody have anything else?
I'll just add, Mike Bettini is looking for special fiddler, a type of fiddler crab, and I just told him Northwest has tons of them, but he's looking for a different type. He thought maybe we had seen them at the salt marsh.
What kind of fiddler crab?
I can't remember the name, the technical name that he told me. I just spoke to him yesterday.
I didn't know there was different kinds of fiddler crabs.
Mike Bettini?
Oh, Sedge Island,
Sorry?
Sedge Island, in 3 Mile.
Okay.
There's a lot of fiddler crabs there.
Well, Northwest Creek. I told him, and he said, no, he's not looking for that. There's a different type of crab he's looking for.
I'd like to go home.
Do I have a motion?
So he's going to come on July 10th.
I'll second that.
We'd like to go home.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.